Start again, take one.
Okay,
So,
take two.
who are you?
I'm Juliet. I'm a 16 Guidelines facilitator. I've been involved with essential education for 2 years. In my other time, I'm a writer. I'm a comedy writer. I run a comedy club in North London. And I've recently returned from a weekend in Belfast at the annual sitting of the Youth Parliament.
Cool, so tell us, what happened in Belfast?
Okay, so Belfast was the annual get-together of all the youth MPs in the UK. I hadn't realised there were youth MPs, but there are. And they get together once a year and they discuss politics and they discuss local issues. And there's about 650 youth MPs. And at the event in Belfast, there was probably about 700 people, including youth workers. We had a stall at the sitting in Belfast, and we had loads of copies of our 16 to Live By magazine. I wish I had a copy here. We were asking people to nominate the MP that they feel exhibits the qualities and values in the How We Find Meaning wisdom theme. So focusing on principles, aspiration, service, and courage.
So what happened? What happened at the actual workshops? How was, what was the schedule like? Like, the youth, the young MPs got to the place, and then what happened? How was the process?
Okay, well they had already a very, very busy schedule. And we were fortunate enough to have 2 workshops scheduled into the weekend. In general, the weekend we were basically talking to people when they were between sessions, at meal times, in break times, and we asked them to nominate for their MPs. But the workshops we focused on, we had about 35 people in each workshop. We did an icebreaker exercise. We did a discussion around each of the guidelines. We broke the group into 4 groups to discuss a guideline each. We did some feedback. We watched a video. We had a Zen inquiry about the kind of world you'd like to see and how to make it happen. And we left on some mindfulness, finished on some mindfulness.
Cool. And what was the result? What happened? What did the people say?
I think we had some really very positive feedback about the workshops. People were exploring questions that they hadn't perhaps asked themselves before, which was very interesting. And obviously within the context of political life, looking at examples of courage was a very interesting discussion. People came back with some very interesting feedback about the discussions. Aspiration, we had a wonderful feedback to the group about aspiration, what it means, what aspiration means, about sort of fulfilling your dreams, about sort of being desire to be greater than you are. So we had some very interesting feedback from the group.
What was the most interesting thing for you, like the thing that amazed you the most? Or?
Over the weekend as a whole, the best feedback we had, I think, was, 2 things. We had the 16 to Live By magazine, and we gave a copy to each person who voted, and to some of the youth workers too. And over the course of the weekend, having people come back to the stall and say, this is my favourite section, I love this bit, this is really interesting, I want to try these examples, I want to try these exercises. That was really, really wonderful, because people are obviously taking on board and absorbing the information. And as we left the session at the end of the weekend, we had the last half a dozen people that we spoke to were really affirming, to say thank you for being here, you really made a positive contribution, what you were doing was really interesting, and a very new dimension to the Youth Parliament, actually exploring ethics.
And what do you think was the most, was there any aha moments for the kids, for the youth when they were doing the workshop? Was there any particular moment where they all kind of...
I think certainly for watching the Nickelback video and seeing the inspiring figures in that video, that was a particularly... There was a kind of very dense quiet after we showed the first video. So I think that was a moment of inspiration for a lot of people.
And what's next? How do you think it will go?
I think it's going to just be a domino effect. It's going to sort of trickle outwards. We're going to have A lot of the youth workers we spoke to wanted to involve the 16 guidelines in the work that they do. So we had a lot of interest in the 16 to Live By magazine. We made a lot of contacts for future work. In each of the packs we gave the youth MPs, it had a magazine, 16 to Live By magazine, and a letter so they can take to their MP. So we hope that, we know that youth MPs in many cases have a very strong relationship with their MP. So what we'd really like is to start a discussion between the youth MP going to their MP and saying, this is what I've learned on this weekend, this is what I've learned from these resources, what do you feel about ethics in public life?
And do you feel confident that it will happen?
Yes!
Cool. Cool. And Anna told us you learned some karate moves when you were there.
I went to see the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Kung Fu.
Cool.